what makes for a great retail experience. And for me, one of the first things when I walk around any retail environment, particularly garden centres, we measure everything by conversion. So everything leads into how well did we convert that customer on their journey around the store. So we do ensure, and it probably goes back when I was a young man in my 20s, buying my chopping boards and cutlery and cheap tables and chairs from places like IKEA, where you went on a journey. I haven't been to an IKEA for 30 years, but I assume that's what they still do. And one of the key things is for us, you'll notice through our stores, is that you go on a journey, and the decision making in that journey is taken care of for you. You're just flowing and moving from one department to another. And then within each department, you have to ensure that your merchandising has clarity, authority, because if you walk through a retail environment which doesn't have that feel, subconsciously customers will try to reorganize it. And if it feels chaotic, it feeds through to your mind, and you feel it's difficult to shop. You create a barrier. The amount of times in a lot of garden centres where I see this kind of twee merchandising, where they do all of this product association, where they've got unconnected product because it's a similar colour or it looks good. For me, that doesn't really work, and I see it every time in our customer conversions when people just are trying to paint a picture through product. You know, it's too bitty, it's too twee. So authority is important, and it doesn't mean to say it needs to look bland or just pile it high, but you're actually engaging in the customer's mind, and they can see exactly what you're selling to them. And you need calmness when you walk around a retail environment. You need to feel calm, you need to feel relaxed, and if your mind is busy trying to reorganize it, then you're just tightening up and you're not enjoying the experience. And that, for some of you, may feel strange, it may connect, but it's absolutely true in all of the years I've been doing retail. If you're going to do a big jumbly sale type environment, it has to be bargains. People love hunting for a bargain. If they know there's a bargain, they will, kind of go through all of this chaotic mess to find a bargain. But if you're trying to deliver a point of difference, you can't see the point of difference if it's chaos. If you're trying to deliver aspiration, you can't deliver that through bitty merchandising and chaos. It's got to feel calm and with authority. And if you were seeing the video yesterday of our stores, what you saw is what I'm describing. Then on top of that, obviously, making sure that your service levels are right, particularly at the tills. You need people to actually look the customer in the eye, talk to them, engage the journey. They shouldn't be frustrated that they've got to look for baskets or toys or trolleys. It's just got to be very well organised, it's got to flow, people have got to feel good. And they've got to find products that they haven't seen elsewhere. You know, I know that garden customers will have their visit several garden centres, but you've got to make sure you're the number one. And why would they choose you to be the number one? Well, particularly for our customers, ABC1, they're looking for something, a point of difference. They're looking for something new. They want to spend, but they want you to put them in a position where they've got no choice to spend because you're giving them something that, wow. It's a big question to answer, but hopefully I've given some indication of what it takes to raise your game in retail.
I think that's fair. I think that's great. The second question, slightly more targeted. Does Blue Diamond know how they will organise their logistics and procurement of plants? Is it now in the hands of too many parties, and are there cost savings there to be made?
Oh. Are we talking UK or Holland?
I think both, to be honest.
Well, we've just moved away from green solutions after 16 years, and we're working with Lemkes now. And so to deal with the Holland one, Lemkes enables us to do an open book. So we know what margin they make, and that enables us to go direct to growers and look at their cost prices, put it through Lemkes, and we're very clear and transparent on what the cost is going to be. But that ability to deal directly with growers in Holland is a big step for us, which before was very difficult because the middleman would control the process and make a bigger margin. Lemkes obviously has their own growers and their own offer, but everything's going to be streamlined. So from that point of view, we're moving from about 6 or 7 Dutch suppliers down to 1. In the UK, we do have our own nurseries. We've got Bridgemere Nursery that grows about 3 million at cost. Then we've got the seasonal nurseries, which is probably about 7 or 8 million at cost. But we still, to this day, and if anyone's in the room that's got a local nursery, I love dealing with local nurseries. Every time I buy a garden centre, there will be some that they have local nurseries, and we keep that and retain it. So whilst that might make it logistically more relationships to manage, goes back to what's the customer looking for. If you want a plant area to truly have authority, particularly for an AB1 customer, having local production in our garden centres is a good thing. The stores have just got to remember to do much more, remember to tell the customer that it's actually local, which I often get irritated when I go in and say, why haven't you put the local message? So, but we worked with some good partners for many years. Allen's Law is a good one with us. They're doing our rose production for us now. We've decided to give up attempting to grow roses. Hopefully that helped. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. Next question. Do you think there is a place for AI in garden centres, and are you currently using it?
But you know what? I was in a hotel in Holland. I think I was in a bar, and a little robot sped by with some food on his hand into a restaurant. And I thought, gosh, that's cool. And now I asked about it, and I'm toying with the idea of doing a trial. It's going to cost £7,000 to do a trial. But quite frankly, when 6.2 million has been knocked off our bottom line as a consequence of to living wage or minimum wage, or however you want to phrase it, after 2 years. And I chose, quite rightly, to maintain the wage gap between the minimum wage and the hourly rate of all our staff. So if they were at £1.50 above the minimum wage, I maintained the gap. I thought it was the right thing to do, but it has cost us 6.2 million. So then you start thinking, that's the downside. You start thinking about cost savings. Because restaurants have been under a lot of attack with food inflation, so you've noticed, all of you, that food prices have gone up when you go to a restaurant or a pub or anywhere, and staff costs have gone up. And I suddenly thought, I wonder whether that would be worth trialling, and whether our age group of customers would be quite ready for that. So that would be one small example of how AI, I think, is going to help in terms of reducing labour, particularly in hospitality. I was looking at Costa, and yesterday I ordered it on the screen, which is great. Don't have to skew there, don't have to talk to someone, which, you know, quite like. This might seem strange talking to all of you, but it's not my natural comfort zone. And I thought, I could see those little robots making those coffees. So you go to a screen, and there's robots making the coffees and bringing it to the counter. And I said to Heidi, I bet within 5-10 years, that's what we'll be seeing. So it can have massive consequences on the labour market, but I think that's the future, and I'm already considering it because of the labour costs in our garden centres.
Is that just on hospitality? Would you look in the retail area as well?
Do you know what? On the retail area, no, I wouldn't. The customer for me will always be talking to someone when they order their food in a restaurant. This is purely bringing the food out. And in garden centres, and I'm old school, so when I walk into an M&S and there's nobody on the counter, I've got to do this bloody machine, and then I buy wine or headache tablets, and someone's got to come over. Just for me, they should be giving me a discount for the hassle. And so I would never do that in a retail environment, not in our retail environment. If I was one of these successful low-cost discounters, yes, absolutely I would. But for me, what I try to do in our garden centres is create an experience, and part of that experience is people. So I think people, for me, in our retail environments are important. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. And next question. How do your buyers and operations teams stay on trend to understand what the customers want from your garden centre?
That's a very good question. A lot of the time they don't. So I guess that's what I'm around for, to nag people. Sometimes it's about trends, certainly. I would say, if you take Sue, who does our seasonal, Sue Fever, I went to college with her years ago. She does a really good job at following colour trends. And so in seasonal bedding, we're always following colour trends. Fashion, Heidi, they are always following colour trends, but obviously shapes of garments, and I mean, you can tell I never get near what she does because I don't even know how to explain it. But they're very trend focused. So we do in plants and even on the hardy. In home is a big area to look for trends, so we do try to look for trends. But at the same time, you've got to remain on point with your customer. So if you're dealing with a customer that's more AB1, then you've got to make sure that you keep the tone of your product focused on that AB1. So if there's a trend in it, it's not really appropriate for your customer, you have to learn to ignore it. But it's just, I said yesterday, buying is not a singular person's decision. That's just an egocentric person. If there's anyone who believes that they can buy on their own, well, they're just an egocentric twit. All right? You need a collection of people to exchange thoughts, build energy, and because someone will say, well, what about this colour trend, or what about this? And so you pulled people together, and then my job is, because I sit with a lot of it, is then to filter out all of the wise decisions and build our strategy going forward. But do it with a collective.
Brilliant, thank you very much. The last question I've got before we open it to the audience is, what key factors do you prioritise when selecting new partners and suppliers?
Oh, point of difference. I like it if I say to them, you know, are you in Dovies, or that they say no. If they say yes, then I walk away. I want a point of difference. I know it's very hard to achieve, particularly in gardening. I mean, everybody has Western. But I'm always looking for a point of difference because that's what our customer wants. And I measure our conversion rate, our average spend every year against the industry, and we're always out of footfall to a greater or lesser degree. And I think that's symptomatic of providing a good retail experience at a point of difference. And if customers, suppliers understand that we are targeting, we're not in the value end, so don't bring me anything that's just poor quality or cheap. If you've got something that is aspirational with a point of difference, and that carries your price point, and I'm all over it. I'm all over it. There's a great solar lighting company, not Smart Load Solar. Sorry, Jonathan. I mean, you're a nice business, and we do a lot of business from you. But there's a great guy called, just one example, and he's an innovator. He's always innovating. Smart Solar will rip it off eventually, but he's always innovating. So if there's any suppliers out there that are innovating, I'm all over it. And do you know what? I say to my team, why are you thinking about this so much? Just put it in and let the customers decide. I'm all for trialing, you know? We don't have to overthink it. If it fits within our target audience of AB1, let's just get it in, turn it around quick, put it in a great place, the right POS explanation, and let's see what the customers say. So, you know, and always, if there's suppliers in the room, don't have any reticence, and you can just email me at alan@bluediamond.gg. It's that simple. Just email me, and we'll have a look at it, and we'll trial it. The more that we can push in that direction with new product, new innovation, the more our customers will choose us as the #1 destination in their selection of garden centres that they like to visit.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Any questions at all?
Thank you. Hi, Alan. Just moving on from what you've just said about solar power and innovation, have you looked at a concept like a smart garden before, where your gazebo or pergola is solar powered, and also your garden tools, lawnmowers and other tools, as one solution?
We started to look at solar power on gazebos, and we started to talk to, in fact, they're going out there next week to China to look at some factories for solar power for gazebos. What was the other one you mentioned?
Garden tools as well, so your lawnmowers, hedge cutters.
Yeah, it's space with that. We've tried. Well, we tried with the batteries, but we haven't tried with solar.
Okay.
Is that product that you represent?
It is, yeah.
Well, if you email me, alan@bluediamond.gg, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, Alan. Just curious, if there is one, what's the strategy for increasing Gen Z conversion footfall across the portfolio?
Gen Z, are those young people you keep hearing about?
Anyone born after 97, yes.
Yeah, okay.
12 million of them.
Probably, I hate to say this, it's very honest, I don't really have one. I suppose Heidi could help and start putting some clothing in that would suit the younger generation. I think you have started to move down the age groups a little bit. We'd have to do it through product, and it's a balance. And if you could find a product that our older generation, you know, 60s and 70s like, as well as Gen Z, you could, but you'd have to feel your way for it. But I guess sometimes, you know, I look at our footfall, like-for-like footfall growth. I look at it against the industry, I track that. It's growing. I think if I was to put it in a situation where I saw like-for-like footfall declining, I would then start to say that our model for the age groups that we were are disappearing, and now we've got to refocus, which we would, because I'm a numbers guy, so I keep on look at it, I look at the trends, and it's something that we would do. Much easier to do with fashion, with home, with the restaurants. You know, some of our cafes like Origins, all homemade, the type of product we do. It's very suited to the Generation Z you're talking about. And we do see them in the centres, particularly at the weekends, because they often work. So it's very easy to do it on the non-gardening in the restaurant, harder on the gardening. But we do, I mean, planted containers, we were one of the first to start putting them outside the front. It's a Generation Z thing, you just pick it up, put it on your doorstep. So we do it to a certain extent, and then in the food halls, but it's not really a strategy. It's more just, I've always wanted to appeal, since 1995 when I set up my second centre in the Cotswolds, and I saw all these yummy mummies driving around in these, you're still allowed to say that. You know when you watch these channels and it's like a sitcom from the 1970s and it says these views might be outdated and offend someone, so I should have that. So all these yummy mummies, and I wanted to attract them Monday to Friday. So I put in some fashion, I put in home, I put in Brio toys, I put in Caspari cards. This was all 30 years ago, and that was designed then to attract that 30-something age group. Because back then, it was all about the weekend. People were just getting ready for the weekend when, and really Monday to Friday was a retirement home. And I changed all of that, because there were these fortunate stay-at-home mothers with husbands with high disposable income. So I targeted that. And you can still see it in what we do. It's still there. You can still see them coming in Monday to Friday. Okay.
Any other questions?
Hi, good morning, Alan.
Morning.
You touched on the national minimum wage and the impact it's having on your business. We are particularly feeling that in the cafe where we have our highest number of employees. What tactics have you deployed to try and combat the drain on your profit as a result of the increase in the wage budget?
One of the fortunate things about being a group is the ability to benchmark. So there's a chap, I'm going to bring him onto a group. I'll use him as an example, and he came into the group about 2 or 3 years ago, and he ran Percy Thrower restaurant. And the reason I mention him, he was delivering a great experience for the customer in today's cost-based world, where the staff costs as a percentage of turnover were operating at 34%. Okay? Now, as a group, I traditionally always worked around 37, 38, and I was happy with that. Gave me the comfortable service levels that I thought we needed for our customer. It's now swung over to 40, about 40. But this guy, he delivered at 34, and the customer experience was great, and it was all to do with his rotoring, you know, how he rotated. He was careful to take time and patience to get, you know, if he wanted someone from 11 till 3, he would get someone from 11 till 3. You wouldn't be able to do that on the inside of the M25, because any garden centre I've got near London, it's awful. But everywhere else, and just through discipline and his pace and energy, and how he developed his team to have that same pace and energy and efficiency, and customer-centric. You know, someone's really customer-centric in a restaurant, they're really so fired up with that energy, and they want to please. The pace at which they move, the way they do things, and the culture that you build in the restaurant, you get these great efficiencies, and that describes him brilliantly. So I brought him into the group, because we can go from 34% up to 44%. So through the power of benchmarking, you recognise what these people are delivering, you tap into that and you use it for the betterment of the group. In the case of a single centre, I guess what I see that he does, and I've just described, is really the only way you could push back on this to fight against these ever-increasing costs in hospitality. I'm surprised that we haven't seen more hospitality businesses go bust. with the increase in food inflation and the increase. I think it's going to happen because I can't see it stopping on the labour cost side, and I think there will be a consequence. I genuinely believe in the next 5 years, with all the costs that are coming on business, you're going to start to see unemployment tick up. Everything's cyclical. I know at the age of 63 I've seen it all. But it's a very difficult challenge, but it's the energy, the passion. Employ the right people, yeah, that really want to be there. Get the right leader to bring them in, to share that passion and that energy, and guaranteed every time it will keep your staff costs lower than it otherwise would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay.